Despite the significant hype surrounding dinos as the next great structure budget meta deck, following in the footsteps of Pendulum Magicians and Monarchs, i.e., just buy three and you're ready to compete, I would argue that dinosaurs have not lived up to the hype in many major competitions. The most popular dino build involves the use of True King hybrids, combining the synergy of the destruction requirement of the kings and diagram with the effects received by destroying certain dinosaur monsters. While this hybrid can produce huge fields, it has a big problem with consistency, for it can brick a lot, and the advancement of link summoning has limited the value of this explosive quality. Veterans of my channel know that I tend to avoid the meta builds because other players can just get those at almost anywhere, various message boards, various other YouTube channels. So there's little to no variety or insight to be had with posting just another standard by the book meta build. Instead, this build will look at a non-True King dinosaur deck. So the first question to ask is, why is True King Dinos the most popular build despite the significant potential to brick? Well, the core of the issue is that without their new structure deck support, dinosaurs as a type is actually rather bad. Their sub-archetypes, Jurrac and Evolzars, are not good, and most of those cards have trouble playing well in a generic deck, and most of the other more isolated support is just not good. Therefore, while True King Dinos have consistency problems, non-True King Dinos have what is commonly referred to as the Blackwing problem, where if the opponent is able to stop the normal summons, or even neutralize the effect of the normal summoned monster, then the deck has significant trouble producing a quality field. So, with that flaw in mind, let's see what type of non-True King Dino build I run. Focusing on the dinosaur monsters first, let's start off with one of the best, if not the best, pure boss monster in the game. I run 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. I only run 2 versus 3 copies because it is searchable and can be a bit little bricky at 3 copies. Ultimate does a nice job of monster clearing against the opponent, as well as acting as a form of interrupt against monster-based counterplays. Its 3,500 attack power, along with its 1,000 clear the board burn damage, easily racks up the damage and makes this deck incredibly lethal. A thing to note that some people may forget is that Ultimate can actually destroy itself to activate its effect to slow down the opponent when he or she has a play to remove Ultimate. It's almost kind of a kamikaze play in a sense. Oh, you've made a play with your monster to remove Ultimate? Well, I'll just have Ultimate activate its effect, destroy himself, and flip that monster whose effect you're going to use to destroy Ultimate face down, so now I don't have to at least worry about him until your next turn. I run 3 copies of the best level 4 dinosaur, Soul-Devouring Oviraptor. Normal or special summon it and search any dinosaur monster, including Conductor. This search effect takes some of the shine off of the second effect that will commonly result in the destruction of a monster like Baby to summon a Conductor from the graveyard, in addition to getting Baby Summon's effect, creating meaningful combo plays. But that second effect is still quality. It's just you tend not to use it as much as you think. The defense position aspect of the summons is unfortunate for this second effect, but understandable. In a sense, 3 copies of Oviraptor is pretty much one of the few mandatory decisions for any dinosaur deck. I run 2 copies of Phantasmal Miscellasaurus for protection and additional summoning capacity. The chief strength of the graveyard effect is to produce a free level 1 tuner in Jurrac Aeolo from the deck for a level 5 or level 9 synchro. In addition, you can also pull a baby from the deck when you have a means to destroy it. Unfortunately, Miscellaneous' effect is somewhat limited in its overall power due to the lack of quality dinosaur monsters. 1 copy of Tyranno Infinity works nicely for this deck thanks to all of the banishing of dinos by Ultimate Conductor and Miscellaneousaurus as the big finisher off of a Miscellaneous or an Oviraptor summons, or even a survival line. I only run 2 copies of Babycerasaurus and no copies of Petite Pteranodon because I don't run any high-level dinosaurs other than Ultimate. Without the True Kings or diagrams in the deck, the babies cannot really be very effectively run in large quantities because of their huge level of inconsistency. If you don't have a means to destroy them, they might as well just be a dead draw. Finally, as alluded to earlier, I run one copy of Jurrac Aeolo to make synchro plays, commonly those involved in the Yang Zing hybrid. For the aforementioned Yang Zing engine, for I believe if you're not running the True King engine, you should always try to incorporate the Yang Zing engine. I run one copy of Beyond, one copy of Chiwen, one copy of Denglong, and one copy of Nine Branches. For those who are not familiar with this combination, the general strategy behind the Yang Zing engine in this deck is to summon Denglong, the most effective way being normal summoning Oviraptor, searching Miss, dumping Miss to the graveyard, using Miss's graveyard effect to special summon Aeolo from the deck, then synchro summon Denglong. After summoning Denglong, you use its search effect to add 9 branches to the hand. Set 9 branches for a counter, then use Denglong's on-field effect to send Chiwen from the deck to the graveyard. The level change is somewhat irrelevant. When 9 branches is activated at some point during your opponent's turn or during your next turn, and Denglong is destroyed by 9 branches effect, use Chiwen's graveyard effect and Denglong's graveyard effect to summon itself and Beyond respectively. Then use Beyond's on-field effect during your opponent's turn if need be to make a Herald of the Arclight that cannot be destroyed by battle and can negate another opponent card effect. Thus, most of the time, depending on exactly what's in your hand, a single Oviraptor normal summon can result in a 5-card deck thin and a double negation. Obviously, drawing into Beyond or Chiwen can be rather annoying, but the benefits of the combo heavily outweigh the detriments. On a final note, some people like running Path and or Suwani as well. I think Path is too often a dead draw and serves only a very limited value in the deck, so I definitely stay away from Path. And I never really understood why people like running Suwani. Yes, if Denglong does not get destroyed by your 9 branches, i.e. it's kaiju'd, or it's removed by a card during the turn you summon it so you're unable to activate 9 branches, you can summon Suwani instead of Beyond as a secondary target for 9 branches before summoning the Beyond after activating the 9 branches, retaining the ability to summon your Arclight with Beyond and Chiwen. But the benefit of this arrangement, in my opinion, is outweighed by the detriments of drawing Suwani. Similar to Chiwen and Beyond, drawing Suwani, it's kind of a dead draw. The remainder of most of the monsters, and most of the other cards for that matter, serve one of two purposes in this deck: making a rank 4 extra deck play, or helping to produce the Denglong combo. With that in mind, closing out the monsters, I run 2 copies of Juragedo for its special summoning ability, its defensive interruption, and even its life gain ability. Overall, Juragedo really helps the OTK potential of this deck. I run 1 copy of Snow for obvious reasons, interruption, 1 copy of Eater of Millions for additional field clearance and as a target for kind of drawing effects, because most of the time your opponent will need to get rid of Eater of Millions as fast as possible, and 2 copies of a rather strange card that I'm sure a number of people have either never heard of or forgotten about, Dynatherium. Now, it is rather obvious why some would avoid this card. For the ability to generically innately special summon itself, regardless of the state of the field, the only level 4 monster that can actually do this does come at a meaningful cost. The opponent gets to special summon a level 4 monster from either player's graveyard. While this is a meaningful drawback, I feel the generic innate special summon ability is important enough for this deck due to the sheer lack of effective dinosaur monsters, and the importance of making complementary extra deck plays to support Ultimate. Now, some people might be mini freaking out because there's in their mind, oh my gosh, though, level 4 monsters, Zodiacs, those are all over the place. So I want to play like something like Photon Thrasher instead. That is an understandable reaction, but in my experience, there have been just too many times when Thrasher sits in my hand dead because I already have a monster on the field. Other cards like Thunderbird have inefficiencies when going first in the ability to help jumpstart your plays. Also, it is important to note that the drawback only targets level 4 monsters, not level 4 or lower monsters. Thus, there are a number of times when the opponent will get nothing, especially early in the duel. And for that Zodiac concern, which is again a legitimate concern, the summons comes during your turn. So most of the time, the additional summons is just more food for ultimate, or something that can just be picked off by a Ragna 0, netting you a draw. For the remaining spells, I run one copy of Raigeki and one copy of Darkhole for addressing fields when ultimate is not available. Darkhole obviously works nicely after normal summoning a baby as well, if you're stuck with a baby in your hand and no means to destroy it. 3 copies of the super obvious Fossil Dig for blanket searching of any dinosaur in the deck that is not ultimate. 3 copies of Lost World, which is a rather underrated field spell, especially the attack reduction, which opens the door for the utilization of Ragna 0. I run 2 copies of Instant Fusion for helping make extra deck plays. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice for helping expand the effectiveness of 103 Ragna 0, as well as neutralizing opponent monster plays that may, let's just say, make the field less hospitable for ultimate. 1 copy of Scapegoat for stalling, and it works nicely with Survival Line and Lost World. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, speed. 1 copy of Double Evolution Pill to hasten the summons of ultimate, for there are plenty of non-dinosaur monsters in this deck. I feel that 2 copies do not work well in this deck because I only run 2 copies of ultimate because there's just issues of bricking. And finally, 1 copy of the commonly obligatory Soul Charge. For the traps, I run 1 copy of Torrential as a board clear and a card to combo with Baby when necessary. 1 copy of Survival Line, which has a nice combo effect with Lost World and Scapegoat, as well as a rather nice destruction-based graveyard effect that I think a number of people forget exists for it, and 2 copies of Call of the Haunted. Another option in this deck is the kind of triumvirate combination between Giant Rex, Evil Sworn Salamandra, and Gold Sarcophagus, where Salamandra and Sarcophagus can banish Giant Rex to trigger its special summons of itself when banished effect. This is definitely a nice combination, but there are 2 issues with it that prevent me from running it. First, the deck really has no secondary search target with Sack, so drawing Giant Rex is obviously bad in most situations, which is something that's kind of weird to say about a level 4 2000 attack point monster, but it's the truth. So these restrictions create a strange balancing act between the number of copies of Sark you should run and the number of copies of Giant Rex. Second, Link Summoning has made the combination a little less valuable in my opinion, so I feel that the choices I've made have a little more consistency. For the extra deck, I run 2 Darkfire Dragons, 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier, 1 Hi-Speedroid Chanbara, 1 Herald of the Arclight, 2 Evolzar Laggia, 2 number 103 Ragna 0, 1 Evolzar Dolkka. Oddly enough, while Dolkka used to be the superstar over Laggia in the past, now I just really don't summon Dolkka nearly as much as I summon Laggia. 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 number 106 Giant Hand. Obviously, if you look at the construction of the monsters in this build, there are times when you feel, I want to be able to negate an opponent's monster effect during the next turn, but you don't have 2 dinosaurs. But you have 2 level 4s. 1 Castel, the Skyblaster Musketeer, and 1 Gagaga Samurai. Double attacking for 3800 after ultimate clears all of the opponent's monsters is definitely nice and heavily augments OTK probability. Overall, one concern with this build that some may have is the potential lack of dinosaurs, and that is an appropriate concern. However, the problem is, as I mentioned earlier, there are few good dinosaur monsters in the game in general. This deck is not really better or worse than the True King build in my opinion. It is more consistent, while the True King build has more explosive potential.
But again, Link Summoning has taken a little bite out of that explosive potential. In addition to presenting a different type of build versus the standard meta build preferred by a number of other players, those familiar with my dueling philosophy know that I would prefer this build due to the better consistency, as I would rather have more consistency over more explosiveness, as long as both decks were still competitive. As discussed above, the goal of this deck is to maximize the ability to make at least one big play once per turn over numerous turns, setting yourself up to eventually put Ultimate on the field to win the duel.
Finally, I do not like the design idea behind including both True Kings and Yang Zings in a dinosaur build. I feel such a design is just asking to brick and really not have any fun because you're just bricking so much, unless you're crazy lucky. In my opinion, pick a lane. True Kings or Yang Zings, not both.
Well, that is my dinosaur deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.